If you want to check out more about the Pop Culture Classroom, go to their website, popcultureclassroom.org. And then let's get going. You know her as Glory, you know her from Bring It On, you know her from her website, Geek Nation. It's the incredible Claire Kramer.
Thank you, thank you. You guys, thanks for sticking around. The end of the day. And some might say, we saved the best for last. Some people like me who are big Walking Dead fans. Are you guys big Walking Dead fans? Yeah. So we've got two amazing guests coming out. Please welcome Mr. Herschel Green himself, Scott Wilson. You guys have body swapped. It's suddenly very strange. But you know what? First of all, thank you guys, honestly, for being here. This is a great way to end the day. I think everybody is equally as excited.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
It's very interesting to see you two sitting next to each other because...
We're friends. He's really a great guy, but don't play golf with him.
We'll have to determine that after this hour, David. You've got your work cut out for you. No, but you guys are like the polar opposites of the show. Scott, your character, Herschel, was kind of like, you know, we've discussed this before, the moral compass of the group, the complete right way and wanting what's best for the group, wanting what's best for the individuals. David?
Yeah?
I can't say the same about you.
Really?
But you were my favorite villain ever, so... Honestly, your portrayal of the governor is flawless. Both you guys, I want to know, the comic books, obviously very popular in and of themselves, but the series, just pop culture phenomena. Both you guys coming in, you know, after the first season, had you been aware of the series, and when you got the call, like, hey, they want you to be a part of this, what was your initial reaction, and how did you research for the roles of, we can start with you, Scott.
Well, for me, I was in Georgia for my mother's 97th birthday. Wow. So she's turning 101 Wednesday.
Wow.
I got a call from, I'd just been talking to an old friend that I grew up with, and it said, you know, as long as I've been acting, as much production as they've had in Georgia, I've never worked here. And the phone rang 20 minutes later, and it was about The Walking Dead. They said, they're interested in 2 or 3 episodes for you. And I said, well, what's it about? And they said, zombies. I said, okay, tell me something good. And they mentioned Frank Darabont and Gil Anherd, and that told me that I should pay attention, and so I did. I looked at the first season and was able to read a few scripts, and I was happy to come on. And before the conversation was over that day, there was one full season and then maybe another season, so it was fun.
Yeah, and I came to the show as a fan because they had 2 of my great friends in the pilot, which were Andrew Lincoln and Lenny James. So, you know, I checked it out. I decided to check it out because they were in it. I didn't know the comic book at all. I only knew the TV show, and I watched the pilot, and it blew me away. I mean, that pilot, that first pilot, I just thought was fantastic. I mean, it was like a movie. The production values, the acting, the scope of the whole thing. And I loved it from then on, and I was watching it. And then I went to LA to visit a friend of mine who's an actor, and he was in LA. I got there, and whilst I was there, my manager, who was very new to me, I'd only had him a couple of days, I think, said, do you want to go in for The Walking Dead? And I went, yeah, okay. So I met them, and it's all, as you know about the show, it's all very secretive, so I didn't know the role. They didn't tell me what the role was, Again, I still hadn't read the comic books. So I was meeting blind, but then as soon as I met them, Frank, sadly, Darabont had gone by then, and it was Glenn Mazzara, who was great. He and I got on very well, very quickly. Gail Ann Hurd, wonderful producer, got on well with her. And so then you're saying yes, because it's a great show, you want to be in it. And it had my friends in it, and I was lucky enough to get the part. So yeah, that's how it came to me.
We were lucky enough that you got the part. You were amazing. So I know that everybody out here is going to have a lot of questions, so line up and we will try to get through as many questions as we can. The interesting thing about The Walking Dead is, and Scott, you said this when you asked your agent what it's about zombies. Obviously it is in this post-apocalyptic world, but it's about more than just zombies. It's the moral of the show is making choices, where your choices lead you, relationships. How do you kind of process all that as an actor?
Well, when I looked at the first season, the thing that was really clear was that the zombies were very well done. I mean, Greg Nicotero was a master of special effects, and he just did a great job with them. And you knew from watching the wonderful actors on the first season that the zombies or the walkers were not getting in their way. So that it left the table set for the actors to come in and do what the writers asked them to do, and how their interpretation of the roles.
I mean, if it was a show just about the walkers, nobody would watch it. I mean, this room would be empty. It's about the characters, it's about survival, it's about making real human choices under terrible, terrible circumstances. And I also love the fact, although Scott and I have been victims of it, I love the fact that the show kills off its leading characters. I
don't love that fact, David.
I think it adds to the frisson of the show because you love the characters, but you're worried for them. You're anxious about them. It's not Star Trek where you're the guy in the red t-shirt told never going to get back to the Enterprise. It's there's people, there's great characters on there that you think they can go. These people can go. So I think that from the audience point of view and us as an actors, it adds to that frisson of tension all the way through it, and that's why I think the show is so popular.
I agree. And one thing, even though your characters were extremely different, you each had sort of a common ground in how you processed the biters, the walkers. I mean, Herschel, you didn't, you had everyone kept in a barn and you were kind of against killing them. And David, of course, Penny was alive, even though she wasn't alive.
Yeah.
You wanted to keep her. What?
I also had fighting tournaments in Woodbury, which I thought was really great.
Well, Andrew kept heads in these last cases, so you had a lot of interesting character choices.
If you haven't got TV, you think, there's entertainment somewhere. I mean, you've got Michael Rooker in your camp, you've got to use him,
He's amazing. But transitioning as an actor and making that choice of okay, we're, for example, your character deciding to keep the biters alive versus then transitioning to the other side. How did you kind of play that?
I just tried to interpret what the writers wrote. And the first episode, to me, kind of set the tone for Herschel, where there was a scene out on the front porch where he was talking to Rick, and he's talking about the Black Plague, and he's talking about polio, and he's talking about HIV, and he's talking about diseases that mankind has experienced, and there's always been a cure for it. So he felt that there would be this time. He was wrong.
And I think that's similar for the governor as well with Penny. I think he felt that if he kept Penny alive, that him and Milton were looking for some sort of cure. And it was the turning point once Michonne kills Penny. I mean, the governor goes into a very, very dark place.
You spun.
He did spin.
You did not come back.
I spun without my eye.
Well, let's go ahead and start taking some audience questions. Let's start over here.
Hi. So what I wanted to ask was, so during the more poignant scenes, did you have to like redo the scenes because of like giggling or something?
Were there any scenes that you guys were filming, dramatic scenes in particular, where someone would break and laugh and maybe the absurdity of what you were filming? I don't know.
I have one. After they chopped my leg off. I was in the cot in the jail cell, and they cut a hole in the bottom of the cot to put my leg down, so it looked like I had half a leg missing. And I decided to stay that way rather than getting up between every take because I thought it would speed the day along. So there was a dramatic scene with everyone saw poor Herschel was going to die. And I started snoring right in the middle of the scene. So they wake me up. Says, "Did you know you were snoring?" I said, "Sure."
That was a character choice.
I would have fallen asleep as the
It was part of the plan.
I have a few. I mean, we have a great time on the show, and it is. We have a laugh and all that. But it's quite a serious show. I mean, it's also and not just the content is serious, but we don't get a lot of time to shoot it. We shoot an episode of our show in 8 days. There's a lot goes into that. That's a tight schedule. And we can work 18-hour days sometimes. It's crazy. So although we do have a lot of fun, and we do, things like that happen, and it happens to me, on the whole, it's about getting the work done. And in our downtime, we have real fun. But on a day-to-day basis, you're just getting it done, really.
Yeah, great question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go over here.
Hi, David. How are you such a fun and outgoing person in real life, and you're such an evil jerk in the show? I mean, how did you transition? How did you play it off?
You don't know me very well. No. The answer to that is the writing. I think Scott would say the same thing. I mean, there's times as an actor you get stuff and you think, how the heck am I going to do this? You look at the script and you think, I don't know where to start. With the governor and all the characters in the writing, you never had that thought. You would look at it and think, I can't wait to go to work, So although you're creating the character, you're creating it with all the tools that you need. And, I think what they gave me for the governor, and also they started the governor in a very, earlier in his journey. So you saw this guy that you were expecting, you heard he was a baddie, that he was a bad man, and you were waiting for it to happen. And then it sort of wasn't happening until at the end when he sits down and he looks at all those heads in the tanks and you go, that's the guy. So they would do things like that all the time. So, that's what you do as an actor, I mean, as Scott's work in the past, I've seen him do some really cold, chilling, murderous characters, and, he's the greatest man in the world as far as I'm concerned. So, it's what you do, and I think the element of being an actor is that sense that you love those things, you love being challenged, so it's all in the writing, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
What were both of your guys' reactions when you found out that the governor was going to kill Herschel?
I'm sorry, could you say that again? I'm trying to find you.
What was your reaction
What was my reaction?
when you
I
knew?
started crying. No, I think I probably knew in episode 403 when I had this great monologue about stepping outside, you risk your life, you take a drink of water, you risk blah, on and on. And I said, uh-oh. And this is just, yeah. I'm the Christmas turkey. So, yeah, then the episode 405, there was no doubt after I read that episode. He goes into the prison, he's trying to save everyone, I said, this is it. And the day after we shot that, I was called in and told that I was going to be moved out, so. But I expected it. You know, I expected it. And if you're going to go out, that's as good a way as any. It was fun working with this man, and we're part of history. You know?
And for me, it was, I knew I was going to go. I didn't know how, and I didn't know what I would do. I suspected it would be that thing of going some sort of battle at the prison. So I'm reading that thinking, oh, this is my last episode, great. And then I get to that scene where I take his head off, and I was like, oh no! I'm never going to be able to walk down the street. And now, you know, people come in, hey man, you killed Christmas! So, it's pretty rude. But can I tell on that day, because the day that I killed Scott was, or Herschel rather, it was a very emotional day. We had that photograph on our table. We both have the photograph of that day when we were doing that. And the entire crew turned up in suspenders and braces, like Herschel. And the atmosphere of that day was very, very special. It was very upsetting. It was very, you know, and it's true, I think, of all, not just of the actors. You know, when the actors go, it's a very upsetting time. But when we lose our crew as well, sometimes our crew go on to other shows, or they decide to leave Atlanta. And it's a very tight unit, The Walking Dead. It's a good family unit. And our crew are second to none. They're the best crew I've ever worked with. They are wonderful in every aspect.
David mentioned earlier the tight schedule that we're on. I've been on films where some of the action sequences that we were involved in would have taken several weeks to shoot. And they were shot in a day or two. And no loss of quality. It's really a great crew. Daryl Pritchett was the head of the...
Daryl is the special effects.
Yeah, special effects.
So he blew up Woodbury. I blame him. And it's, you know, so it's always a very sad time when people go. And when I read that script, there was lots of tears.
But you know, it's really a collaborative medium. The scene where the governor takes Herschel's head.
Spoiler.
You're sitting there, and he's standing on a tank, and he's hollering up the hill for Rick to come on down, and there's a couple of cars with heavy-duty war weapon toys on each side of him. And he's saying, come on down, and here comes Rick down with a 6-shooter on his hip. It's like Gary Cooper in some old Western. It was really, I love that dynamic. I love so the stage was set. I mean, that helped set the stage for what was to follow. And everyone, if any part of that had been wrong, then you would have already lost interest by the time it comes to that. So it's a very collaborative medium. It's very fun to work with people who really enjoy and know what they're doing.
Okay. Let's go over here.
Hey guys, how are you? Well, first of all, I know to me and a lot of people in this room, Walking Dead is probably the best show on TV. But I have kind of a silly question. If the zombie apocalypse happens, do you have your zombie plan?
If the zombie apocalypse really happens, what's your bug out plan?
Well, Woodbury, obviously. Head straight there, I would say. I mean, I was fine until, Rick turned up.
I don't know about you being fine.
Well, not fine in...
Fine in your terms?
Yeah, fine in my terms.
I'm going to get close to Judith. Little ass kicker. I think everyone's going to protect her. So that's where I want to be.
And lots of canned food, I would suggest.
Yep, good plan. Thank you. Yes.
Hi. My question is, on the show, did you guys create a bond? And if so, how hard was it for you to both lead in the same, episode, I guess?
How hard was it to both leave in the same episode? Yeah.
It was tough. We planned to go for a game of golf afterwards, but it rained. So Scott and I, we just left the set. Because they were all busy and they were doing stuff and they were carrying on and there was lots of shaking hands and Scott said to me, so we just went and we went to your house and we played bridge and just had a couple of drinks and stuff. And it was great because it's an odd experience leaving the show. It's fine now when I go back, but it was odd having just left it. I thought I don't want to go back there. I want to leave it for a while.
But they have a nice death dinner for you. It's cool. See, it's true that it is a family, but there are some members of the family who are in the boneyard, and there are other members of the family who are out there fighting the good fight. So it's fun, but they'll all be in the graveyard one day. And I think that I was fortunate enough to work with some of the actors that were there the first season, and I think we walked on their shoulders for a long time, and each person that fell out now their shoulders are being walked on. So it will happen to each one of them at some point in time, and hey, they're all fun, hard-working, talented actors.
The death dinners are funny. We have these death dinners. Just as I arrived, we had a death dinner. So I went to this restaurant and all the cast are there and the actor, irony, was the guy who'd just gone. And it was really very emotional. I was like, what have I walked into here? This is crazy.
This is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's but it was sort of nice as well, but not having joined the show yet, just being there, just arrived, I was like, wow. And then we had a couple more death dinners when people left, and stuff like that. But then the word got out that we had these death dinners, and that was terrible because that meant that any 4 or 5 of us could not go out for dinner anymore. Because we'd go out for dinner, and the waiters and the other people in the restaurant would go,
Someone's dying.
which one of you are going? And no, none of us. No, I'm just having the steak. No. So from then on, we just had to be to each other's houses. We couldn't go out anymore. It was crazy.
Scott, do you think it would have been too much for Herschel if Maggie or Beth would have gone before you?
Well, that would have been really rough for Herschel.
Yeah.
It would have been really tough because he lost his barn, he lost his friends, his neighbors, his wife, he lost a lot of people. That would have been very hard.
I'm glad it didn't happen to him.
Well, and that really raises an interesting point. I think that quite often the people who are left, who have not been killed off, have a problem adjusting to the loss of their actor friends and their characters' friends are no longer on the show, and they have a real sense of loss as a result of that. So it's going to be tough on those who are taking off, but you're going to be taking off sooner or later. And there may be a thing about survivor's guilt involved with that too.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, let's go over here.
Okay, so my question is, if the zombie apocalypse were to ever happen, do you think you would turn into the character in the show? Or what type of person do you think you'd become?
If the zombie apocalypse happened, would you turn into a character from the show, or would you stay as you are? You know what, that again, that raises a great point, because one of the things that is very important, it was very important to me as the actor playing the governor, is not to, you should never as an actor judge your character. You should never sort of stand back and judge them. And I think it's important that you never know how you yourself will react in any given circumstance. So we can stand from afar and say, you know, those people are terrible for doing that in that circumstance. But you don't know how you yourself would react on any given day when those things happen.
But I would recommend that you keep sharp implements out of his hands.
Yeah, but you know, if you want to run with me, I think you should. Who knows how one would react. But I mean, I always felt that the governor before the apocalypse was probably not necessarily a nice guy, but I don't think he was an ass either. You know, I think he was probably some sort of middle management guy, and the apocalypse meant that he could step up. There was a void for him, and he just went. No one was keeping him back anymore, and that's important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hello. My question is, so as we all know, The Walking Dead is a very real and raw and gritty portrayal of the zombie apocalypse, but do you prefer that approach or a more comedic approach to the zombie apocalypse, like Shaun of the Dead or Zombieland?
What
type of zombie apocalypse do you prefer? Or like Shaun of the Dead or stuff like that? I think there's enough room in this world for both of them, that's my thought. They could be a bit of a mashup, you know.
I agree. And just so we're clear, the zombie apocalypse isn't real. Does everybody understand that?
Spoiler alert!
That's not even a spoiler, that's just
But I'd love to see Simon Pegg come into Woodbury. I'd love that. I'd love to have Nick Frost. Wouldn't that be great? In the arena fighting Michael Rooker. I want to see that. Let's have it. I remember Simon going mad once about another, I don't know, it was a zombie thing or whatever that was on TV, and I remember him tweeting something saying, this show's okay, but can I just say, zombies don't run. There's a zombie Bible right there, he was getting very upset.
Well, in the new Star Trek franchise, Simon Pegg wears a red shirt, and he's still alive,
So far.
I think history says that he'll be alive in the franchise. But yes, okay, great question. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, so now that you two are off the show, how would you say that The Walking Dead impacted your lives?
Can you repeat that question?
How would you say The Walking Dead has impacted your lives? Impacted.
How has The Walking Dead affected your lives? Well, they get to come here.
We're here. I've been in acting for 54 years. And now I'm Herschel. And now I'm Herschel. And it's cool, I love it. So.
It's wonderful to be associated with the show, to have been on the show. It's changed my life massively. I love events like this. The great thing about The Walking Dead is the fans. You meet the fans. It's a fan show. We get the feedback from you lot. It's great. Events like this mean that we can meet you, and we both love that. It's great. That feedback. And on other shows, they don't really like that, or you don't get to meet people like that. But for us, that's the really great thing, and we always appreciate that. And we know that you make the show as much as we do, so it's so good to be here. That's how it's changed my life. This show is the show where I interact with its audience more than any other show I've ever done.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilson, how does it feel to be up there with the man who chopped her head off?
I tell you, the worst part about it is I know he can beat me at golf. That was the worst part of it. But he's a great guy. I don't mind losing to a better player.
We used to, every weekend we would play golf, Andrew Lincoln, Scott and I. And it was very interesting seeing other golfers see the three of us in our golf carts coming in. And it was like, hey, my God.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. And we had a great time.
Please tell me there's pictures of you guys golfing somewhere.
There
the three
must
of
be.
you.
There are some
Definitely,
I'm sure, yeah.
Definitely.
I challenge one of you guys to find it and share it on
Yeah,
Instagram.
there must be one. Is that one of me getting the hole in one? Oh, maybe.
What?
Of course it was.
Yeah, that one.
Let's go over here.
I just wanted to tell you how much you two are missed, and thank you.
I agree.
Thank you. But David has a series that he's working on now.
Yeah, I'm doing a show at the moment called Extant with Halle Berry, which will be out. Yeah. She's you know, nicer on the eye than Andrew Lincoln, I just have to say that. So it's July 1st, I think.
July 1st, yeah.
I wanted to ask you
Season
very
2.
quickly, David, the episode, we all know you and Michonne were far from good friends, but the episode that just resonates with me is when she killed your daughter. And I wanted to know, how was it getting up for that? How was filming that scene?
Well, you know, like I said before, the one thing about this show is we're all tight, we're all great friends. If you're going to do a scene with someone who grabs a piece of glass and throws it in your eye, you better love them and trust them and hope that they love and trust you. You know, that's the thing. And Denai and I are great friends. So you're able to go for a scene like that because you trust each other. You know, with all the scenes we do, you know, it's a lot of physical effort. You know, they go on and on those scenes, so you have to really get them right. And we would rehearse it in the morning and shoot it in the afternoon. But I love doing it. And also, from a character point of view, it was a pivotal time for the governor. It really threw him somewhere else. I mean, he wasn't great before, but afterwards he was really horrible. But she's a wonderful actress and a great person to work with. And also a fantastic playwright, I have to say. You should check her stuff out. She's an amazingly talented woman. And, you know, it was a wonderful thing to be able to do that with her. And we have a great fight arranger and stuff like that. So it's all, safety is the key throughout all those things. But you have to be with someone who you really trust. And I really trusted her. She's wonderful.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I was just wondering, was it hard for you to play your character, or was it really easy to play your character on the show?
Was it hard for you to play the governor, or was it kind of an easy character that you could fall into?
It was, I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was, because of the writing, you have it all there. You know, I think Scott would agree with me that, you know, once you read the script and you go, this is a great character, then you're able to invest in it. I have to say the other great thing about the show, for us as actors, is the writers listen to you. You know, they cast you, and they'll give you the script, and it's always a great script. But when you say, I think this might be good, or on the day when you're filming, you think, can we push this? Our directors listen to us, and our writers listen to us. The bulk of it, 99% of it, is their work. But they respect us enough to bring what we, you know, have had for years, our own experience to the set. And that's not always the case, is it?
Well, for me, this was an unusual experience. Most of my career of film work has been in movies. Or if you do a play, you recognize the full arc of your character in one night. If you do a film, you see the full arc of your character from reading the script. It may take you several months to shoot it. But in this, it was like 3 seasons of not knowing exactly where the character was going to go. So your imagination has more free rein. You can think different thoughts and say things different ways and look at situations with a different look and hope that will pay dividends down the road. like Johnny Appleseed planting his apples seeds. And so over 3 seasons, it was an evolving process that I found very interesting and very fun, and I hope that I'm fortunate enough to be involved in something similar to that in the future.
Yeah, the character is your responsibility. That's what's great about it. You know, they write well for you, but the character is your responsibility. So when you're in a scene, if there's something that you feel like the director might say to you, so what would be really great for me if you stood up here and walked over there and, you know, didn't hear this line. You know, Scott and I would say, well, no, you know, why would I do that? No, and you can have that, on The Walking Dead, you can have that conversation. There's a lot of shows where you can't do that. They say, you know, do this, do that, do the other. We're not those type of actors, so they don't get us on those shows. But, you know, you have a freedom to create, and that's a wonderful thing to be able to do.
Thank you, thank you. Yes.
Hi, I just would like to know what you both miss the most about being on the show.
What do you guys miss?
I miss the actors and the crew. The whole, it's like, really, we mentioned it earlier, that it's a family type environment, and it is. There were no egos that were so bent out of shape that they were trying to control situations. In any area or any department, everyone was working together, everyone appreciated what the other person was doing. That's a great work environment, whatever you do. And so I miss that. I mean, that's what we do, we act, and you want to work in the best possible circumstances, and they provided that.
I miss lunch, which was really great. We had great caterers, that was fantastic. But like Scott, I miss the camaraderie. You know, again, it's not always the case that you get into your car in the morning and go, great, I'm going to work today. There's not, some jobs you think, oh God. And I never felt that on The Walking Dead. I always loved driving to the set. There was always a challenge. So, you know, it was great people, and that's what I miss. It's an odd life being an actor, because you go from like a close relationship, a good family here to a good family there to a good, it's like really strange, but this one is, and because of conventions like this and stuff, this one has stayed with us in a way that other jobs sometimes don't, you know, and that's what's been great for us.
Well, I think we all miss you both on the show.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Would you have rather been a different character on The Walking Dead?
If you could play a different character, who would it be? Is that your question?
No. What character would you be if you could be on The Walking Dead?
What character would you
Be.
What? If it wasn't their character, who would they play?
I'll go back to Judah. She will be protected.
Gosh, I don't know, I quite like riding that motorcycle like Reader's does. But I don't know, there's not a bad character in it for me. That's another great thing about the show. So I don't know, you know, I'm so lucky to have played the character I did. I look at the other characters and I can't see past the actor that plays them. You know, you look at all the great actors on the show and you look at them, you look at, you know, at the end of last season, you look at Lenny James and Morgan and stuff and you think, great. And it's because each actor fits their part so well. It's amazing. So
the casting directors do a great job.
Brilliant job, the casting directors.
Yeah.
Top to bottom, fantastic. And the chemistry they get amongst the actors is really great. So I never covet another character at all. I'm so happy to have played my own, and I look at the other actors and just think, great.
So a lot of times on shows, the actors will get the scripts just a couple days before they start shooting. But I'm curious, with Walking Dead, how far ahead do you not necessarily get the script, but you are aware of like your storyline, or not necessarily the death, but like David, you had a lot of scenes, for example, when you pitted Daryl and Merle against each other, and that was kind of like. Were you kind of knowing that the governor was leading up to something this bad, or were you like, whoa?
Not really, no. There's, we used to get the scripts probably 6 to 7 days before we shot them, maybe. Is that right? Sometimes, yeah. So, and then you would work on them quickly, and when you got the script, you were filming the last one, so it was all quite tight. But no, I didn't know those big events were happening. Although when they started measuring me for an eye patch, and I think,
you were like, ooh.
What's wrong with this picture?
This might tip me off. You know, when they start doing head casts of Herschel. Okay. Let me think about what's going on.
Did you breathe through a straw for a while?
And also, some of the departments get them before us. But we never know until the final day. You know, there's a lot of, quite rightly, there's a lot of secrecy around the scripts, so they're delivered to us, and they all have our name watercolored on the pages. We have to read them, we have to give them back, you know, we're not allowed to talk about them, all those things really, which are really what makes the show so good as well, I think. So we didn't know that much ahead of time.
Okay, interesting. Let's go over here.
So as a fan of the comics and the show, I want to thank you both for breathing new life into your characters and making them better than your comic book counterparts. My question is, besides keeping them alive, is there anything you would have changed about the demise of your characters?
I would still be there. No. You know, when you're playing a character, you're into the life of the character. You're not thinking about dying. You're not thinking about the character's demise. You're thinking about what he would do. So that, you know, once that ends, you know, you say, okay, it's time to get another job.
And it's that thing, you have to execute what's been written to the best of your ability, you know, and I think I would have got a few more punches in on Wreck before the show struck that sword.
You almost took him down.
You know what? But it was, no, I don't think, apart from being alive for long, I would have changed anything. I think I'm very privileged to have been on it, as we all were, but no, I don't think I would change it.
Thank you.
There were some worrisome moments for both you guys before you went. I mean, I thought Andrea at one point was going to get you.
So did she.
Yeah, and Michonne had your number from the beginning, so it was amazing that you lasted as long as you did.
You're right.
Yes, we only have time for a few more questions. I'm so sorry, you guys, we're running out of time.
Okay, hi. I was just wondering if you thought that Maggie was gonna die by getting ahead of herself, just like her father and sister.
Was Maggie gonna die by
getting ahead of herself, like getting shot in the head, or her head thrown off?
Getting ahead of herself? Was Maggie putting herself at risk by going off the farm, or this is more for you?
Sorry, still didn't get it.
Was Maggie at risk? Are you talking about from the farm or from the?
Just like in general, if they think she's gonna die like her family.
I think everyone's worried about Maggie.
Maggie is the only character that has survived from Herschel's farm at this point in time. So hopefully she'll be there for a long time to come. But that's pretty much in the rearview mirror, except for her. Herschel's farm is.
I keep thinking Maggie's going to turn up pregnant. I don't know.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened yet.
Of course, and Steve and you and Lynn are a couple, so that's, you know, may they live a long time. I have no idea what's going to happen next.
Yeah. Let's go over here.
Hi, I was wondering what your favorite walker kill was throughout the series.
Well, you never forget your first. We all know that. So my first kill was a helicopter pilot who'd been chopped in half in a helicopter crash, and he was all zombied out, and I just put a knife in his head and I twisted it. It was great. But we were filming out in the bush, and I'd only been there a couple of days, I think. And this guy, what he was doing, a bit like Herschel's leg, was he had false legs over here, and he was in a hole, and it was buried up to here, so he was there, and his legs were there. And halfway, just after he'd been there for about 20 minutes, this actor, and he jumped up. And I looked at him, it's really hot, and I looked at him and I thought, that guy's got leather trousers on. Why has he got leather trousers on? That's really weird. And then I looked down and it was black ants. All over this guy. And he ran across this field like I've never seen anybody. And they just got this like fire extinguisher to do it. And then he came back. And I was like, this is one crazy show. This is mad. So that was my first kill. And and he writes to me every Christmas.
You put him out of his misery.
That was it.
What about yours? What was your favorite kill? Herschel was pretty...
Yeah, Herschel didn't participate for a while, and
Then he, when he went into the bar, I think the episode was Nebraska. Yeah, so he sat there while Rick took a couple of guys out, but he didn't blink very much, so it gave the idea that he had some experience. And then later he was saying, oh, I can shoot, I just don't like to. So then he took someone out in that episode, the following episode.
Look at that, that's all it needed. A little bit of reboot.
Right, so he exhibited his marksmanship in the next episode 10, I think it was, of the
I loved all my kills.
Yeah,
I loved all
fun.
I took my entire town out once. That was fun. Oh, and then talking about golf with Jose, with Martinez, 7-iron, right to the a little bit of fade. That's great. I love that one.
thank you for that. Let's go over here. Okay, let's go back over here for the last question. Let's have one more question. They're waiting in line patiently.
Hey guys. Hi. Just was wondering, when you guys are done filming a really hard episode as an actor, how hard is it to put that down and go home and become yourselves again?
At the end of the day, when you're filming these dramatic, killing scenes or being killed, how hard is it to let go of all that and just go back to being you?
Most actors I know are kind of nocturnal because you get jacked up and you're working and you're involved in what you're doing and you need a little time to unwind. But your mind is really spinning in the direction of what do you do next? What's the next episode? You don't have much time to really contemplate what you've just done. At least in the best of all possible worlds, you're moving on. So it's...
You do get buzzed up. I mean, you do. Sleeping's always, you get home and you're like jacked up a little bit by the day when it goes well. But Scott's right, you never really look back. I never look over the stuff I've done. I'm always looking at the things I've got to, and there's always a lot of stuff coming at you. So you've got to prepare for what you've got going. So, it does jack you up, but it's a great thing to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And David and Scott, this hour went way too fast, but it has been awesome. You guys are really amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Let me mention something. Let me mention something. Lynn Mazzara, who was the showrunner on the second season, you came in, and second and third season. He started in the second season, but have any of you ever seen The Omen, the movie? He's now the showrunner on The Omen, and I will be in The Omen, so.
And also, people, they're going to be back downstairs now.
Yeah, we're going to go back to our table for about 20 minutes.
So if you need more Scott and David time, go find them downstairs.
Thank you to everyone of you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.